You know what your avoidant ex never expected. They never expected you to stop chasing, because for so long they got used to being the one who pulled away and you being the one who tried to fix it. They built a rhythm out of your effort. They relied on your hope, and they counted on you forgetting your own worth in the process. But that version of you, the one who settled for crumbs, the one who accepted half, love because you believed that was better than no love, that version of you is gone. This new version doesn't need to prove anything. You've realized that someone's distance is not an invitation for you to run faster, it's a sign for you to pause, to breathe, and to protect your energy. Because when you start pulling your energy back, everything changes. You stop explaining your value and start embodying it. You stop trying to earn love and start attracting it. And here's the part they'll never see coming. You're not doing this to get them back. You're doing this to get yourself back. Your silence will speak louder than any message you could ever send. Your peace will look more powerful than any reaction they expected. And your growth, that glow that comes from healing, will make them realize that losing you wasn't your loss. It was theirs, so let them wonder, let them question why you're no longer available. Because the truth is, when you stop chasing the emotionally unavailable, you become emotionally unshakable, and that they'll never see coming. Pulling back your energy is not about playing games or pretending not to care. It's about recognizing where your attention, time, and emotional investment are going, and deciding that you deserve to spend those things wisely. When you're dealing with an avoidant ex, every instinct in you wants to move closer when they pull away. You want to clarify, fix, understand, and reconnect. But what you don't realize in that moment is that you're feeding a dynamic where your energy becomes their comfort zone. They get to stay distant because you're always the one crossing the gap. The moment you stop doing that, everything starts to shift. Pulling back your energy is an act of self-respect. It's you saying, I'm not going to keep pouring into a space that doesn't pour back. You can love someone deeply and still choose not to lose yourself in the process. You can care without chasing. You can want connection without forcing it. This is what emotional maturity looks like. It's not coldness, it's clarity. You finally understand that love cannot grow in imbalance. It needs reciprocity, effort, and presence from both sides. When only one person is trying, the relationship stops being love. It becomes labor. When you pull back, you give yourself something priceless, perspective. As long as you're chasing, you can't see clearly. Your world becomes small, narrowed to their behavior, when they text, when they don't, what their silence means. But when you step back, that fog starts to clear. You begin to notice things you couldn't before. How often you justified their distance. How many times you minimized your needs to keep them comfortable. How much of yourself you were willing to shrink just to keep the connection alive. Pulling your energy back lets you see the pattern for what it is, not what you hoped it would become. And the magic is, the moment you reclaim that energy, you start to feel stronger. You stop waiting for them to validate your worth because you start doing it yourself. You invest in your peace, your friends, your goals, your healing. You redirect the energy you used to give away, and you build something with it. That glow people talk about after heartbreak, it doesn't come from revenge. It comes from redirection. It's the result of choosing yourself again and again until it becomes natural. An avoidant ex won't know what to do when you stop playing your old role. They're used to your effort being their safety net. Your consistency reassured them that no matter how much they withdrew, you'd still be there. But when you step back, when you stop reaching out, when you stop explaining, they're left faced with the emptiness they created. That's when they begin to notice what they took for granted. But by that point, something powerful happens. You no longer crave their attention the way you used to. You realize that the peace you found in pulling back is far more fulfilling than the chaos of chasing. So when you withdraw your energy, do it not as punishment, but as protection. Protect your mind, your emotions, and yourself, worth from a cycle that only drains you. Because the truth is, you were never meant to beg for love. You were meant to be met halfway. And pulling back, your energy is how you remind both of you that your value doesn't depend on who decides to see it. It depends on whether you choose to honor it. Reclaiming your identity after an avoidant relationship is one of the most powerful and transformative things you can do. Because when you've spent enough time trying to love someone who runs from closeness, it's easy to forget who you were before you started walking on emotional eggshells. You start to adapt to their patterns. You become quieter, more cautious, always trying to say the right thing so they don't pull away again. Little by little, your confidence gets chipped away. You start to question your intuition, doubt your worth, and measure your value by how much they respond. But deep down, you know this isn't you. You weren't always this anxious, this hesitant, this small. You used to laugh louder, dream bigger, and move through life with a sense of certainty. Reclaiming your identity is about getting that version of you back, the one who knew they were enough without anyone else's approval. When someone avoids intimacy, they make you feel like your needs are too much. You start apologizing for wanting consistency, for craving affection, for needing communication. You tell yourself to be more patient, more understanding, more chill. But love isn't about dimming your light to make someone else comfortable. Reclaiming your identity means remembering that your needs are valid. You're not asking for too much. You're just asking the wrong person. It's about realizing that what they labeled as pressure was actually you seeking partnership, not performance. You don't have to shrink your emotions to fit into someone else's limits. The right connection will make your depth feel seen, not overwhelming. When you start to reclaim who you are, something subtle but profound happens. Your self-talk changes. Instead of wondering why they didn't choose you, you start asking why you kept choosing someone who couldn't show up. You stop replaying the moments you weren't enough and start remembering all the times you gave more than was ever appreciated. You shift from self-blame to self-awareness. That's when your power returns. You realize that losing them didn't break you. It revealed where you'd been abandoning yourself. And from that realization comes freedom. This process isn't instant. Some days you'll still miss them, still wonder if things could have been different. But even on those days, you can remind yourself that you're rebuilding something far more important than a relationship. You're rebuilding you. Every boundary you set, every time you say no to what drains you, every time you choose peace over chaos, you're reclaiming another piece of yourself. You're teaching your heart that it doesn't have to settle for being half loved. And one day, you'll wake up and realize that the version of you who doubted their worth doesn't exist anymore. You'll look back at how far you've come and understand that losing someone avoidant wasn't the tragedy you thought it was the turning point. Because when you reclaim your identity, you stop chasing love that confuses you and start embodying love that strengthens you. You become grounded, self-assured, and whole again. And from that place, you no longer attract people who make you question your value. You attract those who mirror it. Detaching with dignity is one of the hardest yet most empowering things you'll ever do, especially after being entangled with someone who couldn't meet you emotionally. It's natural to want closure, to want them to understand the pain they caused, or to finally acknowledge your effort. But dignity means recognizing that you don't need their validation to move on. It's choosing to protect your peace instead of fighting for an explanation that will never feel satisfying. When you detach with dignity, you're not pretending that you don't care. You're showing that your self-respect matters more than winning their attention. You stop begging for clarity from someone who was never clear to begin with. In the beginning, detachment feels like resistance. Every part of you wants to reach out, to send that one last message, to fix what's broken. But dignity teaches you restraint. It reminds you that sometimes silence speaks louder than confrontation. You start to realize that every time you chase, you lose a little more of your self-worth. You see that peace doesn't come from convincing someone to stay, it comes from accepting that you deserve someone who wants to. You begin to understand that reacting to their distance only feeds the very cycle that kept you trapped. So instead, you choose stillness, you choose composure, you choose to walk away without bitterness because you know that maintaining your integrity is more powerful than proving your point. Detaching with dignity isn't coldness, it's strength wrapped in grace. It's the calm that comes when you stop trying to rewrite someone else's behavior and start focusing on your own healing. It's about knowing that closure isn't something they give you. It's something you create by deciding to stop seeking answers from people who avoid truth. You don't need dramatic goodbyes or emotional battles to let go. You can simply decide that your energy is better spent on rebuilding yourself than on decoding mixed signals. And that quiet decision, that inner shift, is what makes you untouchable. You start to see how dignity changes everything about your energy. People can feel when you're operating from need versus self-respect. When you detach with grace, you radiate a calm confidence that says, I don't need to chase what's not meant for me. That energy is magnetic, not because it's manipulative, but because it's grounded. It shows you've done the work to choose yourself even when it hurts. And that's the kind of power that no one can take from you. There's a peace that comes from not reacting, from not explaining, from simply letting go. You realize that silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You no longer need to prove your worth to someone who couldn't see it. Instead, you prove it to yourself by walking away with your head held high. Detaching with dignity is the art of releasing what was never truly yours while keeping your heart intact. It's understanding that sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is no statement at all. Because when you choose composure over chaos, you show the world and yourself that you're done participating in your own pain. Shifting the focus inward is where true healing begins. After an avoidant relationship, your mind is conditioned to revolve around them. What they're thinking, what they're feeling, whether they miss you, and if they'll ever change. It's like your emotional compass has been hijacked. You wake up checking your phone, replaying conversations, analyzing their silences, and wondering what you could have done differently. But healing doesn't happen there. Healing begins the moment you turn that energy back toward yourself. It's when you stop trying to figure them out and start rediscovering you. When you've been with someone emotionally unavailable, your identity often becomes wrapped around their behavior. You start measuring your value by how much attention they give you. You celebrate small crumbs of affection like they're proof of love, and you blame yourself when they withdraw. Shifting the focus inward means breaking that pattern. It means realizing that your emotions deserve your attention more than their excuses do. You start asking yourself deeper questions, not about them, but about you. What did I ignore because I wanted this to work? What do I actually need to feel safe and loved? What kind of connection am I really looking for? Those questions pull your energy back into your control. They transform pain into self-awareness. At first, this inward focus feels uncomfortable, even lonely. You're used to directing your energy outward, used to trying to fix things or keep the connection alive. But the stillness that comes from turning inward isn't emptiness, it's space. It's the space you need to reconnect with who you are when you're not trying to be chosen. You start to rediscover your interests, your strength, your joy. You might pick up something you used to love doing, or spend time with people who make you feel seen without effort. Slowly, your world starts expanding again, and that expansion has nothing to do with them. It's all about you. The beautiful thing about focusing inward is that it changes the energy you attract. When your worth is rooted in someone else's attention, you vibrate from a place of lack. But when your worth comes from within, you radiate calm certainty. You stop settling for inconsistent love because you've learned to give yourself the stability you were always seeking. You stop chasing validation because you're already validating yourself through growth, self-respect, and alignment with your values. You begin to notice how much lighter life feels when your peace isn't dependent on another person's moods. This inward shift doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start caring correctly. You care for yourself with the same intensity you once poured into them. You learn that self-love isn't about ego, it's about safety. It's about creating a life where you no longer tolerate emotional chaos just to feel connected. When you shift your focus inward, you reclaim your emotional independence. You stop waiting for someone to give you what you can now give yourself: consistency, validation, and peace. And that's the kind of transformation no relationship can take away from you. Letting your absence be loud is about realizing that silence can say everything words never could. When you finally stop showing up for someone who took you for granted, your withdrawal becomes the message they never expected. For so long, they were used to your energy, your texts, your care, your forgiveness. They got comfortable knowing you'd always be there, no matter how many times they pulled away. But when you step back, when you stop chasing, explaining, or proving, the silence you leave behind becomes deafening. It forces them to feel the void where your effort used to be, and that's when the realization hits, not because you told them, but because they feel the absence of everything they assumed was guaranteed. Your absence is not about punishment, it's about presence. It's about reclaiming the emotional space you once gave away too easily. When you pull back, you're not trying to make them miss you. You're reminding yourself that your energy is valuable. You no longer give access to someone who didn't protect your heart. You stop filling the silence they created and let them sit with it instead. In doing so, you take your power back, because real power isn't in what you say, it's in what you no longer respond to. Your silence tells a story of growth, one that says, "I've learned the lesson. I don't need to repeat it." When you let your absence speak, something interesting happens. The dynamic changes completely. The person who once felt in control starts to question why your energy is gone. They might reach out, test the waters, or try to re-engage, not because they've suddenly changed, but because they feel the loss of your consistency. The difference now is that you're no longer waiting for that attention. You've already detached, already chosen peace over chaos. What once would have pulled you back in now barely moves you. You begin to see their patterns clearly, and you realize that silence not only protects you, it exposes everything you couldn't see when you were too close. Your absence also gives you room to grow. While they're processing your silence, you're rediscovering yourself. You're building a life that doesn't revolve around waiting for someone's emotional availability. You're reconnecting with your goals, your friendships, and your confidence. Every day you choose not to reach out, you're strengthening your boundaries. You're reminding yourself that you can feel whole on your own. And ironically, that's what makes your absence so powerful. It's not empty, it's full of self-respect, growth, and new beginnings. Eventually, they'll notice. They'll wonder where your warmth went, why your energy feels different, why you're no longer accessible. But by then, you'll be in a place where their realization no longer matters, because the purpose of your silence was never to make them regret. It was to help you heal. Letting your absence be loud means you've finally understood your worth doesn't need to be announced. It's felt, it's seen, and it's undeniable. The world notices when you rise in your power, even when you do it quietly. So, as you take your power back, remember this: you don't need to chase what's meant for you, and you don't need to beg to be understood. The moment you stop trying to prove your worth and start living it, everything changes. You become magnetic not because you're trying to be seen, but because you finally see yourself. Your peace, your silence, your strength, that's the real comeback. Thank you for listening, and here's to walking away with grace, healing with purpose, and becoming the version of yourself that no one ever saw coming.